Yeah, so we start easy basically. Oyster mushrooms are quite resilient to bacteria, to other fungi and things like that. When you start looking into other mushroom species, you have to be very clean and very kind of clinical to not allow other bacteria to overtake the mushroom. So I don't know how much knowledge people have of mushrooms, but basically it's not really a root system, but what it does is it creates a network underneath the soil or in its substrate. For example, we're using a cross between hardwood pellets and soy pellets, so that basically just gives it something for it to feed on, and eventually that will spread and spread and spread until it fills up its space, and then it begins to fruit basically. So what we're going to be doing today is basically, we've only just started doing this technique at the mushroom farm that we're running. Matt over there is part of the crew. So yeah, we've just started this technique and it seems to work quite well. So basically what we've got is going to be quite a hands-on thing, if that's all right, we'll have you queuing and doing bits and bobs. But basically the first steps we're going to do is put some holes in the buckets, and we're going to do it the old-fashioned way with an iron rod in the glove and poke the holes in it. And then basically we've got some straw, which is our substrate, that's soaked in a lye, which is basically wood ash. And they used to use that traditionally for kind of spinning or taking the fur and out leather. So kind of like that, really. That's just going to sterilise any bacteria. We're then basically going to lay that in the bucket and take a handful of the substrate and lay that on top, and another layer of the straw, and then substrate until we fill the bucket basically. And then give it kind of a push down, and then when you take it home, you have to, if possible, put a thin liner or something over it, just to kind of keep the oxygen away as much as possible, but not completely take it away. So then you'll give that about 10 days, 10 to 14 days to, again, what we call inoculate the bucket. So the mycelium will spread through the bucket, and then you can basically take it out of the bag, and when the oxygen is, or when it's exposed to the oxygen, that's when it will start to fruit. So you'll see, after a while, you'll see through the little holes they start to go white, and then you'll see little, what they call pins, so the tiny little mushrooms that start to come out. And within 2 or 3 days, they'll start going quite big and harvesting. Basically, this is the straw that's been mixed with the wood ash just to sterilise it. So don't want to try and get too much water in there, but it doesn't matter right away. So we'll just basically put in a small layer at the bottom, and then
got that wood ash stuff. There's the stuff that's
yes, it's called lye. L-Y-E.
And you can just buy that.
Just use your firewood, so to speak. So if you have a barbecue or anything like that.
Yeah.
We use the wood ash mixed in with the straw because it raises the pH. Bacteria normally like a low pH, so by putting the wood ash in, it brings the pH up, which hopefully stops any bacteria.
So, learn something every day. So yeah, basically we've just got that at the bottom, and then we're going to take about a fistful roughly. So
What are you taking this out, Luis?
So this is the mycelium. So you can see as it's running through. They're basically the roots of the mushroom.
Okay.
So they're what will inoculate and spread throughout the straw to then fill the bucket with the same substrate, and then that's where it will fruit, if that makes sense. So we're just crushing it up and layering it basically, like lasagna method, I think they call it. These are grey oysters, by the way. So then you've got white oysters, you've got brown oysters, you've got pink oysters, you've got yellow oysters. Yeah, so now you've got your buckets. Basically, you're going to go home, put them in a bin liner, and basically exclude the oxygen. Then you're going to leave it for about 10 days just to inoculate, and just check before you take the bag off that there's little white mycelium coming out of the holes. And then when you take the bag off, it should take about 4 to 5 days to fully fruit, maybe a little bit longer.
So this keeping this indoors?
Yeah. And then again, once you've harvested them, you can kind of put them back in the bag for 3 or 4 days, and then do the same again. You just want to make sure that it doesn't dry out, so just spray around the holes every few days or so. Once you've got your 2 harvests, you can maybe leave it for a third if you want to try, or you can follow the same process and use the mycelium that's in there to get another bucket going, if that makes sense, and just do the lasagna method again. They do grow outside as well, so if you've got like a wood chip area in the garden or something, you can kind of bury that in the wood chip, and then that'll infect the wood chip, and they should come year by year. So yeah, hopefully that's covered everything. Has anyone got any questions at all before?
No, does it need to be a black bag?
As
long as it's in a dark place.
I use a black bag because it absorbs more heat and it keeps the light away. It can grow with light or without light, so it doesn't really matter. But I just try and keep the light away because it stops it from fruiting. That's quick.
Do you have to water it every day?
You don't want it to dry out, so you want to spray the holes maybe every day. When it's in, when it's in the bag, you shouldn't have to. It should keep all the moisture in there with it. But then when you take it out of the bag, that's when, about 10 days. So then when you take it out of the bag, that's where you want to keep spraying it.
Where do you put it after? Do you put it back in the air with the wood, or do you?
You can do, or the kitchen, or again, it just as long as it's kind of in a warm place. When they do start pinning, is what they call it. So when they start forming, you want to make sure that they don't dry out. So you just keep squirting it maybe 2-3 times a day. And as they get bigger, they don't need as much direct spray, if that makes sense. I hope that's kind of clear.